he taught me that. He said, look, your mission is to have great customers, really work with great people, and to brand yourself in that way. And he gave me the inspiration to do that, and it feeds on itself. Because once you start working with one great person, they know other great people, they know more great people, and then pretty soon you develop a reputation as somebody who works with great people. So it feeds on itself.
This is Entrepreneurs, the Playbook, where I give you access each week to the world's greatest athletes and executives about their personal and professional playbook and what has made them champions on and off the field. This is the Playbook. Hi, this is Dave Meltzer, CEO of Sports One Marketing with Entrepreneur, the Playbook, and I have a very special guest for Entrepreneur. It's very rare that I get legends in our business. I don't embarrass you, but Marshall Goldsmith, who I later found out we were neighbors, and I joked to my wife, I just talked to her on the phone, I said, you know, I just blew the biggest asset I had in our home. You know, living in Rancho Santa Fe, you'd think the house would be, or the land would be the biggest asset, but being a neighbor of yours, knowing what I know today would have been a great asset. So I'd love for those in our audience that don't know who you are and what you do, you know, I think it's 11 best-selling books, 28 countries. You're an incredible person. But can you brag about yourself a little bit for everyone?
Well, my name is Marshall. I went to school in Indiana. I got a PhD at the Anderson School at UCLA. I was a college professor and dean. And for 40 years, I do four things. I give talks or teach classes. I'm a professor at the Dartmouth Tuck School. I've been to 99 countries, 11 million frequent flyer miles. Done 36 books, 3 big sellers, so What Got You Here Won't Get You There, Triggers, and Mojo. Then I coach executives. I've been the coach of the CEO of Ford, Pfizer, Glaxo, President of World Bank, all kinds of interesting people. And then I make videos, and I give away all of my material online. So I have a wonderful life.
That is awesome. And you know, how coming from that background, I always find it interesting I started life coaching and business coaching myself, and it evolves over the years. Mm-hmm. What do you think the main, on the branding side, quality of branding yourself, you know, how does that occur that the CEO of Ford wants you to help? Because these are big egos.
Right.
And I think it's really difficult, most people think, for a guy with that type of ego to ask for help, number one, and two, why would they choose you?
Well, in my book, Triggers, one thing I'm very proud of is 27 major CEOs endorsed the book. 27. These included the President of the World Bank, the CEO of the Year of the United States, winner of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, on and on and on.
That was it?
Yeah, 27. Well,
Wow.
I'm so proud. 30 years ago, no CEO would admit to having a coach.
Right.
They would have been ashamed to have had a coach. And I really think that one thing I've worked hard is to change that. If you do a Google search, you mentioned branding, helping successful leaders, in quotes, the first 500 hits, 450 are me, and the rest of the world is 50.
That is awesome, and you deserve that. You know, I was a young CEO, as you may know, with a big corporation, and I always say my biggest downfall was that I felt like if I asked people below me for help, for knowledge, that I'd lose respect, and if I asked the board above me for help, that I'd lose my job.
Right.
As you know, I was a young CEO in my early 30s, and my biggest challenge was I felt like if I went and asked for help from people below me, and most of the people were older than me, and had more experience, and I actually had the appreciation of their situational knowledge, which is probably rare for a young person, but I was terrified that I'd lose respect if I asked the manager for help. And then even worse, I couldn't ask my board of directors, who truly had great knowledge, because I always fear that if I asked one question for help, that I didn't know something, that they would fire me.
Right.
And looking back, which is always great, I think that's, if it was socially acceptable to have, and the companies that we deal with, we have a very large fund, we require the CEO to have a coach.
Good.
And so we may be calling you, but you know, how did you deal? Because obviously you've branded yourself, and you've actually been credited for allowing that shift in the paradigm for it to be a necessity for a CEO to have a trusted advisor instead of an embarrassment.
Right.
How did that evolution occur?
Well, it began. Probably one of the great CEOs I've ever coached is Alan Mulally. I was his coach when he was at Boeing before he went to Ford and did the legendary turnaround of Ford when the stock went from $1 to $18.40. And he taught me that. He said, look, your mission is to have great customers, really work with great people, and to brand yourself in that way. And he gave me the inspiration to do that, and it feeds on itself. Because once you start working with one great person, they know other great people, they know more great people, and then pretty soon you develop a reputation as somebody who works with great people. So it feeds on itself, and it's a lot of years putting in to do that. That's how I started out, but I had a clear intention. My mission was to really work with great people, successful people, and help them get better.
That's awesome. You keep on selling me without selling me, so I know how this must have worked. The incredible thing, I really want to know, you don't have to use names, but I'm sure there's common issues that had nothing to do with the pragmatic business practice.
Oh, yeah.
And can you share with us a few of them that are just common?
Well, in my book, I talk about that. And the first one, and
wait, for that book is What You Got Here Won't Get You There.
Right.
And another bestseller by the man.
Well, you know, one of the things I talk about in that book is winning too much. And again, you're a winner in life, and the people I coach are all winners. It's very hard for winners not to constantly win. So if it's worth it, we want to win. If it's not worth it, we want to win. And the higher up you go, the more you need to make winning about other people. So it's not all about you, it's about others. And I'm sure you see this with entrepreneurs. You probably work with far more entrepreneurs than I have. And with entrepreneurs, it's hard to let go of that. I have to be right. I have to be the achiever. I have to be the winner all the time. And realize as I move up, more and more it's about them being the winner as opposed to me being the winner. That is a really challenging and difficult transition.
Wow, because that was a major transition in my life, and it took a big loss for me to shift the paradigm of value, because I had the need to be right,
yes,
the need to be offended,
yeah,
at least familiar, the need to be superior,
right,
the need to be separate,
right.
And once I shifted my paradigm, and it cost me everything to do it, and it came back so quickly that I realized every morning I'm at service.
Right.
That my value is truly to provide value, and that God's given me gifts,
right,
that it will always come to me.
Right.
But my greatest success is this abundance. And everything came faster, easier, and more importantly, I was more fulfilled every day instead of this scarce, shortage, voids, obstacle, overachieving energy that carried over me. And it's interesting because I also was...
Time out. It's my cell phone. My apologies. Turn this over. There you go. Okay.
Back onto, so, as my maturation occurred as an executive, I shifted this paradigm that got rid of all the shortages, voids, and obstacles, which actually created the fact that less of them were attracted to me.
Right.
The more that I put out there, this need to be right, superior, what you resist persists, and I got more of what I didn't want it.
Right.
What I didn't want. Which leads me to the question, I became more spiritual to evolve. Do you see, and I've gotten behind the back doors with the Fortune 500 executives because I asked for so much help myself, do you see a common thread of spirituality at all, or is it just strictly this old school business practice, black belt signal?
Well, for me, I'm a Buddhist, and I try to look at people's entire lives because the people I coach are all rich. I mean,
this is a good thing because they pay their bills.
They pay their bills, and well, I don't get paid if they don't get better, so the ones that get better pay their bills. And the reality is they don't need money. They're already mostly rich people. I do volunteer work, and they're not always rich, but the people I coach from the business center are all affluent people. And so really, whether you're worth $500 million or $600 million, the big stream of life is not going to change a whole lot.
Right.
And the important thing to me is that they have great lives. And they really look at what's important in their lives. I think what you said makes a lot of sense for most of them. When they realize life is not just about me winning something else. They've already won more than 99.99% of people anyway. And maybe they should focus on helping others and make a positive difference in the world. So I agree with you. I think it makes a huge difference. To the degree people will do that. Some do and some don't.
Interesting. And then with these key executives, I grew up with challenges as a child, and I think it formed this competitive nature, this will. I, had worthiness issues. I wanted, to feel worthy, and so I constantly kept seeking more and more and more. Do you see a commonality within these executives that they have some sort of challenge at a young age compared to maybe an entitled kid who just inherited, the name and the wealth and just continued that? Or?
Well, I think typically it is, in a strange way, hard to be brought up rich, and especially third generation rich. Sometimes I see that, daddy's rich. If dad made the money and you saw dad going up, not so bad. Yeah. But that third generation could be very hard because you're just brought up with so much money that you don't have any perspective at all on life. So I do work with a lot of rich people, and I realize that money's blessing and curse. Yeah. So I get to see the blessing of it, and I see the curse of it, and where I really see the curse of it, and it's old stereotype, but it's a lot of truth. First generation makes it, second one keeps it, third one loses it. Right. There's a lot of truth to that, because what happens is by the third generation, it trivializes what you're doing. You don't make it yourself, and you feel like you haven't made that contribution yourself. So it can be hard, yes.
Yeah, I remember reading Empowered Wealth, with Doug Andrews and the guys from Utah, and they're talking about entitlement versus empowerment. It's interesting. I have a huge intern program because I want to give back and empower. I teach gratitude, empathy, accountability, and effective communication. And I'd love for you to see the faces of these young entrepreneurs and guys and women who want to be sports agents, and they come in so excited. We have a hyper-competitive organization to get those highly taught-after jobs. But I love that first day when I come out and say, look, anybody can be a sports agent or marketer or PR in sports, but I'm going to teach you 4 things. Gratitude, and they're like in shock.
Yeah.
Those 4 things are crucial to what I think to be fulfilled. This enjoyment of the pursuit of your potential, to me, is happiness or success.
Yes.
And it took me years and a lot of money to figure that out. Where do you see those 4 things in the corporate world, not just in life, but in this corporate world? How important is gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and effective communication?
Let's take them one at a time, because I can't remember it.
Start with gratitude. Start with gratitude, my favorite.
I think gratitude's very important. If you look at it, shockingly, a lot of people have trouble expressing gratitude to others, recognizing others for their achievements, more than you would imagine. I often give people feedback, and not everyone, of course, but you would be surprised how many people at pretty high levels have difficulty giving recognition.
Wow.
And it's kind of like, well, I didn't need it myself, why should I have to give it to them? And really, I think it's very important. It's highly correlated with empowerment. It's highly correlated with motivation. How do you like to work with somebody who recognizes you, and how do you like someone that never recognizes you? It makes a huge difference. So I think that gratitude is very important in two ways. One, to motivate others. 2, though, just satisfaction with your own life, too, because making peace with who you are and being grateful for all you have is critical. So I'm a great believer in that.
Which leads to that.
By the way, I was on an airplane, and landing gear didn't work. It was horrifying, and of course the pilot talks about landing gear doesn't work. And it was a small plane. We had to circle around until we ran out of gas. So I thought about my own life, and I thought, what matters in life? What do I'm happy for, and what do I regret? My biggest regret was I hadn't recognized people and expressed gratitude enough.
Wow.
And, so after that, I try to do that as best I can. It just dawned on me that's the one thing in my life I regretted when I was facing death.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. I would say you can change your life with 2 simple words. Thank you. I travel like you do, and planes get delayed, and I always tell people around me, I'd rather be on the ground wishing I was in the air than in the air wishing I was on the ground. Number 2, real quickly, is empathy, which is forgiveness. How important is forgiveness?
I think forgiveness is important in 2 dimensions. 1, forgiving other people for being who they are, and 2, forgiving ourselves for not being perfect. It's surprising how few people have forgiven their parents for not being the perfect parents.
And there are none.
and not forgiving themselves for not having the perfect parents.
Nice.
So it's very good, I think, to forgive other people, because when we don't forgive people, the person who hurt is ourselves. We carry around that anger, that sense of resentment, and you're not hurting the other person as much as you are yourself. So Buddhism is very big on make peace with what is, and so forgiveness is a big deal.
I'm a Judah Buddha, Jewish culture and Buddhist belief.
A lot of them out there. Yeah.
Now, accountability obviously is a huge thing. I believe that there's only 2 questions when you look at being accountable. One is, what did I do to attract it to myself? And then what am I supposed to learn from it?
Right.
How much accountability this is an interesting question, but the elite executives, do they take accountability because they're such large organizations, or do they go to blame, shame, and justification?
I think the best ones take accountability, and the best ones are role models for accountability. And the one thing that I teach people is one of the main reasons you want to get feedback and try to improve is you want everybody else to improve. So rather than just preach at them, to the degree the leader is a role model for that, they're better off. I'm the coach of the CEO of Pfizer, Ian Reed, and I was a coach for a while, and he got better, and I got paid. I said, well, I don't know if I need to work anymore. You're doing great. He said, yeah, but he said, here's why I want to work with you. I'm asking everyone else to get feedback and try to improve. He said, I want to be a good role model myself. I don't want to ask them to do something I'm not doing myself.
Wow.
So I think that to me is very important, to be that role model, lead by example. Don't lead by preaching. Because when the big bosses preach, all they teach people to do is preach.
Yeah.
That's it. They preach, then the next level preaches, and then everybody dumps on the bottom then.
Right. and there's high turnover.
Right.
Lastly, effective communication. Now, I know that all great executives can communicate this way, out towards others, whether they preach or teach or serve, and I think those are the three choices you have. But I'm really interested in this connection to being connected to enthusiasm, in theos, with God, or whatever they believe in. But I believe a true leader is inspired, and that whether they say it or not, that the collective of these large organizations can really feel and they perform for that inspiration.
Right.
How much do you feel that's true, or is it just?
I think it's true of the greatest leaders. Some of the great leaders I meet, my friend Alan Mulally was the CEO of Ford I mentioned. My friend Francis Hesselbein ran the Girl Scouts. I've known both of them over 30 years. I've never seen either one of them be down at all, any time. Sometimes even the people I coach get whiny. Poor me. I only made $35 million last year, And I always ask them, have you ever seen a Broadway play? I say, yeah. Well, did you ever see a kid get up there and say, my foot hurts, my aunt died last week, I have a headache? I don't think so. It's showtime. And to me, the great leaders, it's showtime. That's not being a phony, that's being a professional. Right. There, I am up, I am positive day after day after day after day, and that's my job. Because everyone looks at their faces, they listen to their tone of words, and it's hard sometimes. Yeah. They're humans like anybody else. You get in a meeting and you're hearing some presentation, you already know all the numbers. This kid is making this presentation, you've already read the thing twice. Kids have drug problems, you're like every human, your parents have Alzheimer's, doesn't matter. I always tell them, no matter how you feel, you got to look interested, you got to at least look like you care, because to that kid, this is very important. It's their life. And if you look disinterested or checked out, the kid is demoralized. And if you're up and positive and appreciative, the kid is highly motivated, that's your job. Yeah. That's not an add-on. That is your job.
Be a professional.
That's it.
Which leads to the final question, my favorite one. What legacy does Marshall Goldsmith want to leave?
Well, I went to a program called Design the Life That You Love. I was asked who are your heroes? And great teachers, Paul Hersey, Ken Blanchard, Alan Mulally, Francis Hesselbein, Peter Drucker. And then the woman said, why are they your heroes? I said, well, they're really great teachers and they're incredibly generous. None of these people ever charge me any money. So she said, well, why don't you be more like them? I decided I'm going to adopt 15 people, teach them everything I know for free. And when
still room on the wait list?
Well, there is. Be honored if you apply.
Oh my gosh.
15 people, and then I made a little selfie video on LinkedIn. Turned out to be the most widely viewed video in the history of LinkedIn. I had over 12,000 applicants. I've picked 55 already, got 45 to go. Ashish is one of the people I've picked here, head of JA. And it's just been a wonderful experience. And it's and then what I want to do is, now we're going to do 100 aspiring coaches. So the first 100 are going to work with me to pick another 100, maybe younger, not so distinguished, because the first 100 very distinguished people. And we got 55. I would be honored if you're interested in applying.
I'm going to apply. Well, what an honor it has been for me. And of course, the universe provided me this abundant chance, not only to get to meet you, but to apply for something like that.
Yeah.
That can increase and expand my universe. So just so grateful. This is Dave Meltzer with Marshall Goldsmith. This is the Playbook for Entrepreneur.